And yes. 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 I think I got this. Hold on. Oh, it's shift. Oops. I did it. Okay, there we go. Good morning, bedbreads and educated. I should have thought of something prior to this, and I don't remember. Well, hello, Bells. Congratulations on first. We're talking about a book today. Probably not for very long, because my God, I have some things to say about this book. But it's fine. It's fine. I should have actually put up an image somewhere that I could be like, this is the book that we're talking about today. But it's in the title, so it's fine. It's fine. How are you, Bells? I hope that you're having a good Friday today. Oh, I'm ready to spill the tea. Well, so the whole reason that I'm late is because of tea. I had to prep the tea in order to spill it. So much to say it's going to be a long stream. No, Geekbot. It's going to be me basically complaining about the book and then be like, and also here are the thieves. All right, cool. I'm glad we all learned something today. But also, hello, Geekbot. How are you? Hold on. We'll go to this one. We'll go to this scene. This makes more sense. But we have Benji on our head now, too, because I actually remember to put him there, because last time I had him, didn't think about it the whole stream, and at the very end was just like, heck. Well, that's not how it works. Oh, Geekbot. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And I actually have notes, at least of general points in the story that were, like, very specific to me that I needed to. I mean, hold on. There we go. There's that book ASMR. But yeah, so this month we were reading. I have no idea where to look right now, because if I look here, I feel like I'm too much looking not quite at chat, but if I'm looking here, I'm looking completely away from chat. We're just going to look here. This makes the most sense to me. This will be where we aim. And if it's wrong, then I don't want to be right. Oh, what is that song? Oh, that's Family Force 5. And hello, Brian. And if there is something wrong, then I don't want to be right. I think that's how it goes. I don't remember what the name of the song is, though. I don't know why the song is suddenly in my head, but it's a good song if you guys enjoy, like, weird 2000s, like, kind of metal-esque music. I think the song was called Love, or Put a Little Love in It. It's a very strange song. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Good morning, everybody. Again, we're going to be talking. As long as it's not country, I'm good. Oh, it's not country. It's... The intro goes, hold up, wait a minute, put a little love in it. And then it just immediately into like that like metal-esque guitar. It's a very strange song. The only reason I'm thinking about it is because if there is something wrong, then I don't want to be right. But he sings it more like, and if there's something wrong, then I don't want to be right. It's a very strange song. Anyway, book. I'm not getting distracted. I'm going to prove to Geekbot I can get this covered in like an hour. I say, knowing this is going to at least be about like an hour and a half, 2 hour stream, depending on how things go. But, okay. So I'm going to start with the biggest criticism of this book. Also, surprise, it's going to be all spoilers because you need to talk about the book in order to talk about the book. But, one of my biggest gripes with the book is the writer talks about the island that the boys... Oh, wait, I should give a summary of the book first. I know this. There's stages to this. I should be hitting the stages. For those who haven't read the book before, the book is essentially the story of a bunch of British boys who crash land on an island. The idea being that they were on a plane during the middle of World War II. Something happened. I don't think it quite explains what happened, but it's presumed that they're probably shot down. And only the kids survive. And it's a bunch of, like, you know, like, older kids, quote unquote, you know, like 10 to 13. And then a bunch of, oh, and congratulations, Brian. And then, like, a bunch of younger kids, you know, like 6 to 9. And it's essentially, the book dives on the ideas of what happens when you put a bunch of, quote, civilized people into a non-civilized situation and what will happen. Which has some, like, you can tell this book was written in a particular era. Because it's got, actually, when was this book written? Hold on, I need to know that now that I think about it. $1954. All right, that makes sense. Lord of the Flies in a way, but it is Lord of the Flies. It is, Geekbot. It is. Yeah, okay, that explains it, because they use some language in here that probably wouldn't fly today. And it's very British posh to some extent. Like, it's very, like, there are literally portions in the book where it very much talks about just, like, you know, like, how could we do certain things when, like, the kids don't say it, but it's kind of implied that because they're British, they're supposed to be civilized. And even at the end of the book, when, spoilers, they're rescued, even, like, the officer of the ship that comes to save them, it's just like, you're supposed to be British. How could things have gotten so bad? You know, like, because British people are proper. And it's just like, frickin' boots to your frickin' British properness. Keep your holier-than-thou attitudes to yourself, writer. What's the name of the writer again? I should know this. I'm terrible. One moment. Oh, sorry. I should go with the cadence of the book. Sucks to your British. And it's William Golding. There we go. It's William Golding. But one of the things about the book that really bothers me is the writer writes about how the island looks quite often. Like, describes the rocks as being a sort of soft pinkish color, describes, like, the lush forests and the tough jungles, and, you know, like, the pristine beaches with, you know, like, the bathing areas and the reef that can be seen. If you had to ask me to try and draw this island, it would never happen. I don't know if it's just me, but the way that it was written, I had no idea where was what was where, who was where, what was who, where, what, wow. Like, it's just like, yeah, they went to this particular area, and I'm like, I don't know how far away that is from where they are. By, like, any stretch. Like, does that take... And congratulations, Moon, on the second. Like, does that take 10 minutes to get to? Does that take 20? Does it take an hour? Does it take a day? I don't know. Like, it's just so, like, I have no idea what this island looks like. And it's frustrating because you start to, you know, there's points in the book where it points out certain areas that are very important, you know, like there's the first mountaintop, or not the first mountain, but like the area on the rock where they first build their first signal fire. And it's like, yeah, you have to climb up there, and it's kind of work to get wood up there to make it, but it's higher up. And I'm like, okay, but how far away is it from the beach? Because you make it seem like it's impossible. Like, you need, like, a horde of people to keep this going, but I don't know. You know, I don't know. You're not giving me enough intel here. So there's just certain parts where I'm just like, I feel like this is supposed to be way more significant than it is, than it feels. Because you're giving me you've given me so much information that means nothing. There's a quote, and I don't remember who said it, but they said something along the lines of, there are certain writers that can say a lot with a little, and then there are writers who can say nothing with a lot. This book is a good example of that. Hey, Pep Thread, thank you so much for the lurk. You have yourself a good one. Like, it just... Like, there are paragraphs, and like, you know, me having ADHD, there are some paragraphs that are big paragraphs, like, just like this wall of text, and it's just like, okay, you know, like, orient myself, get it ready, read the thing, and it's like, you come out at the other end, and you're like, okay, so what I got out of that, like, you know, like 500 word paragraph was, the rocks are pink and the smoke was floating upwards. I get you, Geekbot. It's a fine line to walk between giving enough, giving too much, and giving too little, right? And good morning, Cobalt. Thank you so much for the stretch, and I presume hydrate. But yeah, that was one of the ones. The other one. Oh my god, the other one. They will give... The writer gives a bunch of names to the characters, and a lot of them you don't need to know their names. I keep forgetting when book club is happening. That's alright, Cobalt. It was technically supposed to be yesterday, but I really wanted to play Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, exactly, Geekbot. But, like, they're almost beyond background characters. Like, they're just, like... There's, like, 4 R-named characters. One of them is the main character. One of them is only really important, like, near the end of the book, and even then he's not super important. Hold on, it's Ralph, main character, Roger, who's like the psychopath at the end, and congratulations, Blue, on the 3rd. I'll get to the stretch and hydrate in a second, Cobalt, sorry. There's Ralph, Roger. See, and then there's 1 or 2 more R's, and they don't matter as far as I recall. Like, the only characters that really matter are Jack, Simon, Piggy, Ralph. Those are technically the 4 important ones. I might be forgetting somebody off the cuff, but... Hold on, let me scan my paper for a second. Yeah, like at one point they mention a character named Johnny and that he's 6. I don't think he ever gets brought up again. Like, you know, you gave a character a name, it's like, oh. Name. Important. Scribble down. I don't think I have Johnny anywhere else written in my notes. Because he is just so unimportant. Like, it's frustrating, because I'm, like, trying to keep track of the names, because there's, like, again, I think there's Eric and Sam something. We'll just call him Sam because I can't remember the full name, but there's an E and a C in there somewhere. But like they're twins and they're supposed to like finish each other's sentences because they're so in sync. And like again, they're only like kind of important now and then. Near the end, sort of. Because of a specific plot point. And it was just so like, why are you giving so many of these characters names? Especially giving a bunch of them R names for just no reason other than you're being a prick and making it hard to remember shit. Again, I acknowledge that this is also coming from the fact that I have a lot of trouble with remembering stuff because of my ADHD, but I took notes. And I'm still just like, who's this character again? Anyway, we'll do the hydrate and the stretch really quick while I calm down. Thank you for the hydrate. We'll do a quick stretch. All right. If anybody else would like to join, by all means do so. And if not, totally okay too. Oh, can you tell I only woke up a little while ago? Oh. And to the left. There pops my freaking rib. In a good way, though. Don't worry, Chad. It's in a good way. Oh, I'm back. And shake out our wrists. If the book riles you up, the movie's another story. I have luckily never seen the movie. I don't know if lucky is the correct word there, but it is what it is. What was the other thing I wanted to complain about? Let me look at my notes for a second to make sure that I get a chance to complain about things. Oh, yeah. So the ending is supposed to be kind of action-packed for the most part. And I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the right mindset because I was in kind of a bad mindset for this month. But like, even through the action, I was kind of like, all right, it's starting to pick up. That's what it was. The intro to this book is a slog. Like, you gotta work your way through the introduction of this book. And then it starts to kind of pick up with some interpersonal drama, and you're like, all right, I'm kind of starting to get into this. And then it slows down again, and you're just like, dude, you cannot slow down. You are already kind of difficult to read. Don't slow down. And then it picks back up again, and you're like, okay. I could keep up with this. For context, I had the whole month to read this book. I finished it today. Because I was just like, man, it is difficult to read this book sometimes. You know, like some books, I think every book has a downtime that can be a little bit, all right, yeah, you gotta move along with it. You gotta go. Sometimes you have to have a slow part in the book in order to let the reader breathe and to potentially dump some exposition. Or at least, you know, like, let the reader catch up with the story. This book tries to do that when not a whole lot of crap is happening. You know what I mean? Like, in some books, you'll have, like, Lord of the Rings, for instance, has some stuff like that, where you'll have, like, a big chunk of action where it's, like, super intense, and then it'll have downtimes. Are the downtimes too much? Probably. But that's just me talking. But like, this book, it's just like, oh, they started a fire. That's crazy. All right, now there's downtime. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe that's not enough to justify a downtime. Maybe you should build some things up a little bit more. Like, it's neat that they're coming together and helping each other out and that there's some tension being built. But, like, my God, dude. All they did was light a fire with some glasses. I don't know. This particular book was one of those, like, I will say off the bat, though, I'm glad I read it. Don't think that I'm not glad that I read it, because I didn't get to read it in school. I got to read it this time. I got to read it like many years after school, and I am glad that I read it, but holy heck, was it one of those just like, well, glad I read that. Wish I had spent just like 3 days on it, but so be it. But yeah, there's my general complaints about it. And if anybody here thinks that the book is good, like, I'm completely, how to say it, I am completely coming at this from my perspective. If you like the book, fantastic. I'm glad. I want to like the book. I would never walk into reading a book going, I want to hate this. Well, there's a couple of books that I could think of that you might want to have that attitude. But this one was just like, oh, this is supposed to be one of the, like, 100 books that you should read before you die kind of books. As pros and cons. Yeah, exactly, Geekbot. Like, it does, like, there are certain things that I don't think it does particularly bad. But just, it has more cons than pros from my perspective. And again, outside factors potentially. Again, ADHD. This month was not a good month for me mentally. So it was like, okay, you know, coming at it from a more difficult perspective as well. I think it's interesting that if I recall, this book was at least partly a response, an earlier book that was more idealistic. Yeah, it's got, I guess that's a good transition to themes. Like, one of its major themes is, like, what is it? Like, the civilized versus the savage, you know, brain attitude. Where it ponders the idea and suggests that in a situation without law, it is very quick for men who are law-abiding and, you know, law-abiding and good, and for the you know, for the good of others and for the good of the community, to, like, immediate desires and evil and violence and the what's the wording I want to use there? The domination of others for the purpose of the self. On a related topic, can I link to a news article? Sure, Cobalt. If it's related to the topic, of absolutely. Hold on, let me look here really quickly. The real, what happened? Ooh. Okay, I can't really read this on stream at the moment, Cobalt. How did it end? Did it turn out that they were all just pretty reasonable individuals and worked together? I want to know that that's the case. Because I did not know this. I'm learning a brand new thing at the moment. One of the kids broke his leg and the others took care of it and stuff like that. God damn. See, okay, actually, that's a good point. You're oddly enough, I don't know why that specific sentence is triggering this. This book kind of feels like if somebody took a psychology course from Freud, especially like the id, the ego, and the superego, and came to the conclusion that we have, you know, like the id is our, quote, savagery, and the ego. Crap, is the superego that keeps the things together, or is it the ego that keeps things together? Dang it all to heck, 1 second. I'm usually pretty good at this, but I am kind of tired today. Id, ego, superego. It is primitive, is rational. on, I just need to remember which one is which. You're not gonna tell me really quick. Alright, I think if I'm remembering correctly, from what I just read really quickly, it's the ego is the one that keeps things connected, whereas it's like the id and the superego is the idea of, like, you know, like proper lawful brain, the conscience, so to speak, the ability to do good, and the id is like your more baseline primitive attitudes. There you go. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so I was right. The superego is supposed to be the logic. Yeah, it kind of feels like somebody took that and like stuffed it into a book with like a healthy dose of like, oh, what is the name of that guy again? Hobbes? I think his name was Hobbes. He was a, how to say it? I think he was a philosopher who basically believed that there was the idea of Locke versus Hobbes, where Locke, I believe, believed that humans are born a clean slate to be, you know, like, to be molded by their environment into a state of good or evil, whereas Hobbes was more of a humans are naturally predisposed to be cruel and evil. And it feels like that's kind of where this book went. Like, they took those two concepts and kind of stuffed them together, you know, because they start out kind of civilized for the most part. Like, some of the people are helping get things started at the beginning, but a lot of them will pretty quickly give up on it because they get bored. They want to do their own thing. Like, all of the young kids in this book are basically, how to say it, they're kind of there without really any reason, because it's just like, oh, the little uns, I think is what they call them. There's the little uns and then there's the big uns. The big uns being like the bigger kids, and little uns basically being like, I mean, the book basically makes them seem like useless children. Useless in the sense of that they're too young to be able to be helpful, you know, like with like firewood gathering and food gathering and water gathering. They'd rather just wander off and play games in the sand and, you know, all that stuff. And it's just like, I don't know, kids want to be helpful. I don't know if they'll be helpful from my experience with kids, which is not a whole lot, but, you know, if you tell a kid just like, hey, if you can go get us some water with this, you know, in this coconut, like, and you come back, you know, we can do this, you know, like, it's not that difficult to make a kid be helpful or have them feel helpful. And again, a lot of the times, I think most kids are pretty like, yeah, I'm willing to help. I remember as a kid, I wanted to help all the time if I could, you know, like, if people were doing things, it's just like, can I help? Like, if my mom was cooking or if my dad was in the barn, it'd be like, can I help? I don't know what help entails, but can I help? You know, when you're like 5 or 6 years old, there's not a whole lot that you can do, but I remember, well, that's a noisy vehicle and or air vehicle? I can't hear which one. Like walking around with like boxes of things, like little boxes of things for my dad. Like if he needed like nails or something, I would like walk over with like a little box of nails and be like, ha, I'm helping. Oh, let me think. They're a bad example. The book's trying to say it like kind of defeats its own argument. Interesting, Brian. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, just out of curiosity? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth specifically. I don't want to be like, oh, you mean this. It's like, no. You tell me what you mean, because I don't want to be that guy. Let me close this really quickly. There we go. I do kind of like, the one thing that I did like is the, how they build up the, what's that word? The theology, I think is the word that I'm thinking of. The theology around the beast, which I think is neat. Like, I don't know if I believe it, but I mean, there is definitely kind of going, keep on saying that the kids are too young to even know how to survive, much less anything else. Ah! So, like, how could they even be civilized or savage, but the book's words, if they're not even old enough to know what those things entail? If I'm understanding you correctly. Oh, that was another thing. Ah. That's about it. Yeah, I get you, Brian. That's actually a pretty good argument, where it's just like, behold, I guess to build on that idea, it's essentially the idea of just like, they're supposed to be the unassuming masses that rally behind the different figureheads, you know? Like when later in the book, you know, Jack basically usurps the throne, so to speak, and like basically everybody heads in that direction. But then they'll just randomly bring a kid out and just not mention it. Like, there's a point after that situation where Piggy dies, and Ralph comes back because he's like, I'm gonna die, and he, like, walks into the clearing, and, like, a Lidlin sees him and runs away screaming, and he's just kind of like, well, that's weird. And it's just like, well, wait, why is that kid just there? How is that kid alive? Like, it's just literally just a non-character just, like, going about their business and reacting to the main character. I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said in there. Maybe that you can dig deeper into this stuff, but I feel like most of the themes the book wears pretty much on its shoulder. You know, very much just like, there's the proper way of doing it, and then there's the savage way, and eventually we will all fall to the ways of the savage, you know? Like, society will crumble in a fiery pit, like, into a fiery pit filled with its own blood. And you're just like, all right there, chief. Chill out. Oh, that was the other thing. There's a scene early on. It's really quickly established that, like, Jack is gonna be the antagonist, because he fights with the main character. He's, excuse me, shown as the character who is scrawny and small but needs to prove himself, you know? Like, he spent his whole time background characters kind of give off the number of kids. Yeah, but, like, it seems like there's, like, several dozen Lidlins by the way they keep describing it, where it's just like, oh yeah, there's, like, 10 big kids, and, like, this is an over-exaggeration, obviously, but it's like, and there's, like, 50 little ones, and it's just like, how big was this plane? How did all of them survive, but not the pilot? It's a book. I acknowledge that. You just gotta, that's a suspend your disbelief situation. I acknowledge, but it does kind of feel like, well, if there's so many young ones roaming around, how's that not causing problems? But again, we're supposed to focus on the main characters. The little ones are kind of not really important. from the perspective of the book, I guess. Right, yeah. So it's very early established that Jack, or what the heck was the name he was originally good at? Meridew? Which, I don't know why he wanted to change his name, but whatever. I guess the idea is that he can establish a new existence here. Yeah, so he gets antagonistic. He has like a really big drive that they have to get meat. Like, it's like, we have to get meat. That's like his whole freaking thought process. Just like, we gotta get meat. And it's just like, it's an odd thing to be like, I get it. Like, protein is good, but it's established that they have a fair amount of food from fruit trees. And, like, I get you can't live off fruit trees, but it's not really implied that, like, the fruit trees are causing problems, you know? It's just like, there's fruit trees. It's like, oh, okay, there's food. But then Jack's like, no, we need meat. Specifically. Which, like, even in the book, it implies that a lot of people do want meat, because whenever the meat is actually there, people, like, drool over it, etc., which I guess is supposed to be another situation of just, like, the fall into savagery. It's just like, no. We could easily survive off these fruits. But no. We need meat. And the only way to get meat is to murder something, you know? Kill it with your bare hands, or in this case, with a bunch of spears. So they do, you know, like Jack somehow over the course of like a couple of days. I don't even know how much time passes in the book. That's another problem. I have no idea how much time passes in the book. I don't know if they have been there for a week, a month, a year. No clue. But, you know, he goes into, like, he's the one who first falls to, quote, savagery. And, like, you know, starts, like, painting his face and, like, wearing less clothing and starts to, like, read the land more and find the pigs and ultimately murders one. And I think it's the second one that they kill. They stick the head on a spear. Because from their perspective, the beast, the nebulous, ominous thing that started out as far as I understand, it started out as a kid seeing, like a Lidlin, seeing something in the darkness, which was just their imagination, and nobody could convince them that it wasn't a thing. Even though Jack, I believe, starts with being like, there's no beast. And then he ultimately starts seeing that the beast is a tool in order to cast fear on people so that they'll join, you know, come to his side. You know, join him in his primitive ways, because uncultured people believe in the ominous things in the world. People of civilized cultures would never fall for such simple things. Insert eye roll here. I think that's the description of how many days. It's the description of how many days it's been instead of giving it away. Like it's supposed to kind of be a little bit nebulous. It's just like, no, the time doesn't matter. It's about how they fall, not how long it takes for them to fall. Oh, right. So they have the pig head on the pike, which ultimately becomes the Lord of the Flies, which only affects two people. It affects Simon, who I don't quite understand Simon's character. He seemed like a reasonable character, but was just kind of not good at talking. But like, there were a couple times in the book where like people would kind of like make fun of him, and I was just sitting there like, I don't know what he's done to deserve this. Maybe I'm neurodivergent and therefore I can't quite register it because I'm like connecting with him. Maybe that's the situation. Like Simon's considered, because they call him Batty several times, you know, like he's crazy. And it just makes me think it's just like, well, wait, is he crazy or is he just different? You know, like, is he on the spectrum or something? I don't know. But then there's this point where he's talking to the head. And he, like, feels this pressure in his head, and his nose bursts blood. And, like, he's, like, the thing is talking to him, and it didn't really make any sense to me. Like, maybe I need to go back and reread that part, but I was really just like, what is happening right now? I'm not following why this thing is talking to him, and why his nose is bleeding. And then, you know, he ends up finding the dead pilot later, because a pilot comes down who is like the reincarnation, who reignites the situation of the beast. And like he discovers, oh, it's a pilot from a plane, you know, like, oh, you know, well, crap, that's what it is. But, like, he's, like, either exhausted or his nosebleed really affected him badly. Because, like, when he gets to the beach when everybody's doing the crazy chant, like, they're during the thunderstorm, he, like, walks, he basically, like, crawls in, like, trying to explain that there's a dead man by where the fire used to be. And then the kids just kill him. They just murder Simon. I liked Simon. He was a bit of an oddball, but I liked him. He seemed like a good kid. And then, like, later, that was another thing that bugged me. For some reason, you know, like, Piggy is shown throughout most of the book to be the character of logic. Is that what they're called, killing the mess? I mean, honestly, Cobalt, that might be exactly what they were going for there. Because he was going to tell them all that the beast didn't exist. I mean, nobody could have known that. Because they were all in, like, a chanting blood haze, essentially. So it was kind of those, like, an accidental killing of the messenger. But then, again, Piggy is supposed to be, like, the logical one. He is, like, the one who counsels Ralph with information. He keeps Ralph's brain on track because he slowly starts to forget what his objective is, which was kind of weird. Like, who in the hell forgets that they want to be rescued? But I guess that's the whole idea, that, like, everybody can fall to savagery in their own way. Ooh. But then when they participate in the murder of Simon, Piggy's response is to tell Ralph that they weren't part of the circle. They never joined. They didn't participate. They were not part of the killing. With his exact words being, he was baddie, he asked for it. And I don't know why, but that made me really not like Piggy's character. Like, up until that point, I was fine with Piggy. He spoke kind of oddly sometimes and didn't always come across as, like, the most compassionate character, but he's supposed to be logical. Solarcy, thank you so much for the raid! And hello, Jay Stardasher. Hello, Solarcy. One moment, please. Sorry, I'm in the middle of ranting about the book. How was... Ooh, you're playing the new Final Fantasy VII. How was it? Did you have a good time? Sorry, I'm in the middle. I'm also rambling, so I may just occasionally just go back into the rambles and such. We did Played almost 7 hours. God dang, Solarcy. Oh, did you play almost 7 hours because it's Final Fantasy 7? I'm sorry. I need laughter right now. Oh, thank you. Har har har. Sorry. I needed a chuckle right now because, like, Lord of the Flies is supposed to be one of those, 100 books that you should read in your lifetime. And I finished it today and was just like, man, some of the choices that this book made are kind of like, eh. So we got scammed when she played 16. It's true. Jace, you did get scammed, and you should demand retribution. Solarcy, how could you? I think I'd simply pass away if I stream 16 hours. Dude, Solarcy, same. I don't know how people do more than 5 hours. Is mid. Thank you, Solarcy. Thank you. I'm just bitching right now about the fact that, spoilers, by the way, we're talking about a book post reading it. After they kill Simon, like the whole group of them murder Simon on the beach during the thunderstorm in in a quote savage haze. Then Piggy, who has been the voice of reason through the book, and then all of a sudden after they kill Simon and Ralph is dealing with that, which of course you would, right? Once you're past it, you're like, I murdered someone. Like, I might have been one of the many who murdered him, but I murdered someone. Speaking of like the mob mentality stuff. And then Piggy's response is just like, we weren't there. We weren't part of the group. He was baddie. He had it coming. I wrote that down specifically. He asked for it. I wrote that down specifically because that frustrated me. Like, I know what's happening there. Yeah, exactly, Kobo. That was just what I was getting to. I understand that Piggy is doing this to Ralph to be like, look, you need to not be thinking about this right now. You need to focus on other things. But the sheer callousness of just shoving that under the rug was very frustrating for me. If it was intentional, then great. Good job, book. I'm mad. If not, good job, book. I'm mad. I think it's meant to be a frustrating story. Doesn't mean it's good, but yeah, fair. As I was saying earlier already, Solarcy, that it kind of feels like somebody took the Freudian concept of like the id, the ego, and the superego, and then took it with like the thought processes of Hobbes. Of the idea that like humans are naturally born with a disposition for evil or cruelty. And was just like, I could write a book about that. And I'll just add kids to show that even, like, the innocent can fall prey to such things. And it's just like, brah. The book did a good job on Will. True. The dumb thing is, though, the book makes a point at one point, right? Because there's parts in the book that kind of distinguish the idea that, like, killing isn't the answer. You shouldn't kill. If you kill, you give into your quote savage ways, and it's just a way to, like, exert power over people, etc. But there were definitely moments near the end of the book where I'm just like, God, I hope Ralph just kills Jack. And, like, that's exactly what the book is saying, right? Like, thinking like that means you've given into it. I love Riders of Satellite. Riders of Satellites. Not just a single one, but multiple. But there was just a point where it's just like, come on, Ralph, just get him. Just get it over with. Also, there's a lot of parts in the book where stuff is, like, written in a way where you're just kind of like, or at least for me, again, like, I'm not the best at reading. I have a hard time sometimes drawing metaphors out of wording if stuff is written vaguely. Sometimes, oh, you're totally fine, writers. Absolutely fine. It's a stream. Discussions are being had. You're absolutely allowed to be like, But there were a couple parts in the book, and I can't remember all of them, where there's just kind of like a, wait, what happened just now? Like, read the paragraph 3 times, and I'm still like, I still don't quite know what happened here. Like, near the end, like really close to the end, Ralph is hiding under something. And he's waiting to see if someone will look. Because if someone doesn't look, he's safe. But if they do look, it might be difficult for them to notice that he's there because he's in darkness. And there's a point where he registers that the person has in fact registered that he's there. And it's just written in a way that I'm like, did he kill him? Did he knock him over and run? Like, maybe I need to read it out loud and be like, okay, this is what it actually means. And just like, yeah. I don't know. There's just a lot of parts in the book that I'm just like, man, stop trying to be so like wordsmithy and just tell me what's going on. Also, man, they put so much time into Simon's death. Like, he gets like a page and a half, I'm pretty sure, of being talked about, how he's killed, how his body is laying like crumpled on the beach as like the sand soaks in his blood, and as the tides rise and slowly pull his body away, you know, like they give a lot of information to that. For Piggy, he gets hit by a rock, falls, cracks open his skull, and a wave comes and he disappears. And you're like, wait, what? Arguably one of the more important characters just got like a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs to his death. Just like, and Logic has now died. And it's just like, can Logic get a little bit more information, please? I do like the symbolism of that moment where, you know, like, because Roger at that point has been kind of established to be more of a monster. And then drops the rock on them, and I think he technically drops the rock unintentionally, and it basically shatters the conch and just sends Piggy to his death, who at that point is already blind anyway. And like kind of enjoyed that, right? Like the final part of Logic and Order dies with Piggy and the conch. Which, like, symbolism-wise, I'd say it's on point. It's probably one of the better moments in the book. But the fact that they give Simon more time than Piggy was kind of like, what is the Lord of the Flies about? Are you talking the book story, or are you talking the themes, writers? Because story-wise, it's essentially a bunch of kids crash land on an island, and it's them slowly devolving into, as the book says, quote, savages. And man, the fact that they even used the word Indians at one point was just like, because they even make the comment that I think specifically they were describing the sound they were making was the tapping on the mouth while making an aw sound. You know, like the stereotype of like Native Americans, which was just like, oh, I'm not going to unpack that because this book was written like 70 years ago. A different time, you know, that's one of those ones where like if you read To Kill a Mockingbird and the N-word gets dropped and you're just like, different time. You know, I'm going to let that slide because it's a different time. Same here with the idea of like Indians and the stereotypes. Just like, nope, different time, different time. Also written by a British person, different time. And hello, Nivek. Thank you for the hydrate. I'm sorry that I don't have any push-ups and squats for you today. I can't do push-ups and squats when we're talking about books. This is not a place of physical labor. This is a place of intellect. I had that one prepared in my head already specifically because I knew you'd show up eventually. Literally, it's like, well, what happens when Nivek comes in? I'm just like, just tell him it's a place of intellect and not a place of physical labor. He knew. Oh, I knew. And yes, thank you for the stretch. I will do the stretch now. Ugh, Nivek, have you read the book? Yeah, but it's a place of mental labor. Ooh. I've been rebuked. I come in here thinking I know what's what, and Riders is just like, reverse Uno, and I'm just like, shit. Ugh. Well, Nivek, it was this month's reading material. I guess you're getting a D again. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. And thank you for the stretch, by the way. It was very appreciated. But yeah, for the most part, like, I don't know if I had to give it like a rating. Urge to make a joke. Go ahead. Do it. Do it. What are you going to say? I easily know how to. I don't know how to get D, but I certainly know how to give it. Is that what you were going to say? Is that what you were going to say, Nivek? Something along those lines? Am I close? Am I within the ballpark? So, okay, yes, I basically nailed it, but just in a different version. Nailed it. Got him. Sorry. A place of labor or an amusement park for your... Oh, God, that's a word. Oh, God. Lobe. I know what you're saying, Riders. That word is just escaping me. You know me, so, yeah, pervert. You insatiable beast, you. See, Nivek would have joined Jack and his gang. Except for, I guess that's one thing that I can appreciate to some degree, though I'm, like, tentatively appreciative of it. They didn't add any female characters to this book. Which I think partly is because during this time, which is probably still a thing, in Britain, I presume it was like, this would have been like an all-boys school, and therefore it wouldn't make sense that there would be any women. Or girls, I guess, in this regard, since they're smaller, or because they're younger. But also probably good because I feel like that would get really freaking weird potentially. So, if it wasn't intentional, I'm glad the author didn't go down that road. It goes south? Yeah, it'd have like an it moment, if you will. And that would be, that'd be one of those like, all right, everybody, we're gonna talk about Lord of the Flies. We're going to ignore all the stuff that involves women. No, Nivek, just a reference. I will not dive deeper, I promise. I give acknowledgments to topics that I'm sure several of us are thinking about without going into detail. Because I acknowledge that there are things that we don't go down. Riders, there is a moment in it that is fucking weird. And that's all I'll say about that. I will not go further. But yeah, hold on. What was the... Hold on. Let me check my notes one more time, because I'm still shocked that I actually took as many notes as I did. Murder. This is stolen. No, nothing really else. Kind of touched on a lot of the points that I wanted to touch on. I mean, the dumb thing is that I don't mind this kind of a story. Like, I enjoy... Because essentially we're watching, like, the equivalency of, like, a, quote, civilized group falling into, like, a dystopian-style attitude, right? Like, basically going from high society to, like, Mad Max to some degree. Which, stuff like that I like, but I feel like it was just forced. Again, it's going under the premise that it's very easy to fall into primitive, cruel attitudes. The book does kind of, like, imply that, right? Like, it talks about, or how to say it, it perpetually implies, which I think is another theme of the book, it's like inherent evil in mankind. Or I'm sure like a what the heck do you call those darn websites? The websites that basically just give you kind of like the point form information that you would need in order to, like, write a book report on it. There's one famous one that I think a lot of people use, and I just can't think of the name off the moment. Or can't think of it off the cuff. But, you know, a website like that would probably call it something like The Inherent Evils of Man. No, Geekbot, I'm talking about, like, websites that literally will, like, break down, like, the themes and the bullet points of, like, a book. And you can just, like, scan over them and be like, oh, okay. I can't think of the name of it at the moment. You know, like what they called, like Cliff Notes or something like that. The TV tropes? No, not exactly it either. Though TV tropes might potentially have that too. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up really quickly. Hold on. I bet I can find it if I type Lord of the Flies themes. That should get me there. Spark Notes. That's what I'm thinking of. Never heard of it? Well, there you go. If you ever want to participate in these discussions and you don't want to read the book, just go to Spark Notes and find the book. It shall probably break it down. Hold on, let me see what it says here. All right, so the themes of Lord of the Flies are civilization versus savagery, the loss of innocence, struggle to build society. Oh, that's actually not a bad... That was not a bad one. Man's inherent evil. Oh, I called it. I was going to say the inherent evil in man's hearts, but I'll take it. I'm going to take that as a win. Dangers of mob mentality. Oh, that's actually something I should have... That's one that I should have also said. War and the future of mankind. Ooh, that one not so much. Well, I guess the idea behind that one makes sense too. Yeah. I mean, those all work. Where's the fun of bickering while reading? Well, presumably you read it before the stream starts, Geekbot, and then you could be like, have you noticed that in the book there's a lot of thought processes and themes of mob mentality? And I'm just like, oh, like which parts? And you're like, I don't know any specifics, but I recall reading that. And I'm like, oh, do you have a page? Because I have the book right here. I can go look. It's like, oh, you know, it's all over the place. You'll find it if you look. But yeah, mob mentality is also... Mob mentality, I think, is the one that I agree with the most. Because mob mentality is like an actual thing. You know, there's... What is it? There's mob mentality and there's... Ooh, what is that called? The passive bystander? It's the something bystander effect. Jesus. Start slamming. Sorry, I smacked my microphone by accident. What the heck do you call that again? Or is it just called the bystander effect? Bystander effect. Bystander effect. Or bystander apathy. Yeah, someone really ought to check if she's okay. The bystander effect essentially being the idea that if you're in a crowd and something bad happens, you can justify to yourself not engaging because another person could do it. Like, oh, there's enough people around that someone will say something or do something. And I think that that works. I see why instead of a cigar. Oh, yeah. The other reason specifically, Riders, is because I've smoked a cigar before and a cigarette. Turns out my lungs don't like those. Influencer peer pressure. Bam. You get it. You get it, Geekbot. There's a lot in there, right? Like, especially when Simon gets murdered. They talk about it a lot. The idea, you know, like they start the chant. People start getting into it. You know, like, it happens, there's many examples in reality. Like, think about people who get, like, trampled at, like, concerts. You know? Because people just get hypnotized, essentially, by, like, music. And they just don't register people. Or when you hear, you know, about people who have been, like, I don't know, they've been injured somewhere and they call out to people and nobody, you know, like, responds because they're all thinking, someone else will do it. Hold on, I had a thought. No, I can't remember anymore. Oh, wait a sec. Where was that? Where did I write that? Okay, this is a really have you ever smoked a pipe? I have with flavored tobacco once. And that I could manage. Never done it again since, because I don't have much interest in smoking. But that one was just more just like, a friend of mine had a pipe and flavored tobacco and was just like, do you want to try? And I'm just like, I mean, why not? Flossie, hello! Thank you for the hydrate, much appreciated. You've missed me ranting about the book for like the last hour. Where were you, Flossie? I'm teasing. Alright, this is an unimportant little side note, but it's something that came to mind for me specifically. Derailing the conversation? Oh, absolutely fine, Riders. Absolutely fine. I have notes. I could just go back to my notes. This is a really unimportant one, but there's a couple of times in the book I was asleep. Wait, that's good, though. I hope that you had a good nap. Madam, please, that's good. There's a couple of times in the book where people make fun of Piggy, and there's kind of that attitude of it's binding people together, you know, like everybody's coming together in camaraderie at the cost of Piggy. There's this book. I haven't read it personally. I would maybe like to. I don't know if it's a book or if it's a short story. But it's called The Ones Who Walked Away from Onalas? I think it's Onalas or something like that. And it's this interesting philosophical story about the idea of there's this city. And it's like a metropolis. A metropolis that is like literally like pinnacle of society. Like everybody lives in comfort. Everyone is doing well. You know, no one goes hungry. Everyone lives a life of basically paradise. But at the cost of that is there is one child, random child, that is neglected, malnourished, is basically tormented for its entire life. And that's the cost that everybody else gets to live in comfort. And the stipulation is that if anybody tries to help that child, prosperity ends for everyone in the city. And it just, the idea just came to mind when we were, you can't Geekbot, because then you end the comforts of an entire city's worth of people. Because you're still helping the kid. And it made me think a little bit of that made me, whenever they make fun of Piggy, that always came to mind, because it was just like, you know, like the guy who's logical, but who's also suffers from asthma, is overweight, is blind, basically. You know, he also ends up becoming the target of everybody's, like, commentary and is constantly told to shut up and is being put down a lot. And it just makes me think of that, right? Because in a couple times in the book, they specifically even say, I love that I'm tapping my freaking notebook as if this is the book. It's like, yeah, a couple times in the book, this thing right here. No. I'm just tapping because it works for me. And that's specifically me yelling at myself. I know nobody here could even see the darn book, so don't worry about it. This is all me being a funky doodle boy. Yeah, it just made me think of that. Like, that there was just, like, this camaraderie to that. And hello, Sam. There was just this camaraderie through the cruelty of one person, who then, in the end, ends up becoming the displayed death of logic and order. I don't know. I don't know if there's an entirely strong connection there, but it made me, you know, it made me ponder. I enjoyed that thought process. It was like one of the things in the book that I actually had to like sit down and be just like, huh, where do I stand on this? Which again, Kobold, is why I'm glad that you brought up that article about the fact that Lord of the Flies actually happened, and you know, it turned out just fine, because it shows that, like, even though you take this book and you ponder about it, you're just like, would that happen? Would people just immediately devolve into murdering each other? And it's like, I doubt it. One really needs to strive to do what's right, but it's hard to understand what is right when you're that young. True, very much so. But I think even like younger kids can still kind of to some extent understand what's right and wrong. Like, for instance, I was reading a psychology thing at some point where it's pretty, they were watching kids like learn things, And one of the ones that they were what that they noticed is like they would start realizing how kids learned about empathy, because there'd be like a kid who would like hit a kid, you know, like, because kids be dumb and goofy, and they'd hit another kid, and the kid would cry, and the kid who hit them was like, oh, I don't like this feeling, you know, like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I don't want it to happen again. And then, you know, like, most kids in that situation will either try to, like, run away from the situation because they don't know how to process it yet, but they realize something has gone wrong, right? Like, they register a mistake has been made. 2, they'll try to comfort the kid and be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong, but I want you to stop crying. And there was a third one, and I can't remember the third one off the cuff, unfortunately. But, the kids have a strong sense of their own justice. Yeah, absolutely, Flossie. I know that there's, like, a lot of gross stuff online where people do the whole just, like, my kid today said this, and you're just like, yeah, and then everyone clapped, right? But, like, there are times when, like, a kid will bring, like, a weirdly complex idea to like, a thing, to, like, a topic that you wouldn't even think they would have awareness of, right? Like, kids as young as, like, what? Like 8? Will sometimes just have, like, these weird little just, like, well, why is this? And you're like, that's a great question. And also, thank you for the hydrate, by the way. Flee, de-escalate, terminate. That's right, Geekbot. The third one is they hit the kid with a rock. And they're just like, whew, glad I dealt with that. I know that's not what you meant, Geekbot. I know that's not what you meant. But just the idea of, like, kid 1, run. The second one, hey, I'm sorry. The third one, rock. Drop kicks the kid. Yeah, just no idea what to do. Just pure panic. Oh, dang it. I had a thing that I wanted to build on there for a second. Poor Simon. Yeah, there you go, Geekbot, to bring it back. They de-escalated. Oh, there we go. But, like, yeah. So you sit there and you, like, read the book and you're just like, man, are people, like, inherently evil? Would they, like, even as a kid? Why do you look like a grandfather watching golf at 6 p.m.? Because I'm a grandfather watching golf at 6 p.m. And hello, Juju. How you doing today? Wait, isn't it, like, super late for you? Not to, like, tell you to go to bed, obviously. I appreciate having you here, but I'm just registering, like, wait a second, isn't it late for Juju? Oh, that was the other thing. Another example of that, because it's the whole idea, like the book does have the whole just like, ooh, eventually we all become, quote, savages, unquote, and we'll all kill each other. I'm remembered of, oh, what was it called again? I think it was technically called, like, The Love Boat or something like that. It was the idea of this psychologist. So we talk until now. Oh, that's nice. I hope that it was a good time, Juju. This, quote, psychologist got, like, a pair of men and women of the same number, I believe. No, it was more men than women specifically. And the whole concept of it was the idea that, like, eventually, you know, like, he gave all the women, like, the, quote, male jobs and gave all the men, like, the female jobs, whatever the heck that implies. And he was just there studying them because he's like, yeah, eventually the men are gonna go, like, crazy and be just like, no, I am man and therefore dominant, you know, and, like, I will have a woman and they'll be mine, blah, 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 blah. And the idea was just like, he was just like, yeah, there's gonna be murder, there's gonna be all sorts of bad things, and it was just like this ridiculousness. And then, and thank you, Cobalt, I'll look at it in a second. And then in the end, he was the only one who was in danger because he would keep doing stuff. Like, everybody on that ship was fine. Like, all the guys were like, yeah, I'll do the jobs, it's fine. And all the women were like, yeah, I'll do all the jobs, it's fine. And he's like, there's no conflict, so I'm going to start conflict. To the point where he was actually putting, like, the crew in danger sometimes. And apparently it was discovered afterwards that, like, some of them in the group were just like, we need to, like, maybe consider killing Psychologist and throwing him overboard, because at some point one of us is going to die because of his insanity. And I just love that, because it's the idea, right? It's a similar idea. Everybody gets put on a boat. There's gonna be a bunch, there's supposed to be conflict. People are, you know, like, the civilized are probably gonna turn into, like, you know, fall into their more primitive natures. Ooh. And, you know, like, the men are gonna assert their dominance. It's got that very, like, terrible, like, alpha male thought process, which is, like, actually disproven. And also hierarchies are incredibly complex when it comes to, like, social creatures, way more so than the idea of just like, ooh, there's freaking alpha males. It's like, no, stop it, that's dumb. Even the freaking the research that showed that turned out to be wrong and was, like, misquoted, if I recall correctly. But and then it just turns out that, like, the only person who was ever in danger was the guy who was causing all the problems. And I just find that very amusing. Sam, that's not really relevant to the topic at the moment. And just, I enjoy when something's clippable, it's clippable. Oh, God. And yeah, it's just like one thing that I really enjoy from this book is how, and this is probably maybe not a good thing on the book, what I did enjoy about the book is how it made me think about other media that disproves it, which in a way is good, right? Because, like, that does mean the book made me think. It made me sit down and ponder and go, like, okay, well, how do we approach this? Like, how do, like, are there things that we have that we can say, no, that's actually not true at all? And we can. We have that. And it's fantastic. And I guess we do also have to think about the fact that this book was written in, like, 1954. You know, like, World War II had only ended, like, what, like, some 10 years ago, roughly, give or take, depending on what theater of war you're thinking about. Well, that sounds like the Texas sharpshooting fallacy that psychologists working on. Texas sharpshooting fallacy. I don't know that one, unfortunately, Riders. If you're willing to explain, though, I would appreciate it. Hold on. Let me do another note scan really quickly just to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, I never really dove into the theology stuff. I enjoyed the theology stuff. Unless I did and I've forgotten about it, in which case, oops. I enjoyed the idea of, like, the beast slowly becoming, like, more and more of a prominent thing in the book. Eventually being used by Jack as a, how to say it, as, like, a fear mechanism to gain more power over people. Though it's, I can't tell if Jack believed in the beast or not, or if he was paying homage. You know, like, it was exactly what I was gonna say, Geekbot. Like, he could very much just be the fear monger, right? Like, the enemy is within. We must appease them at all costs in order to survive. And if he's proclaiming that, or if he also believes it. And also, it's where you draw a conclusion and find data that supports it. That supports only that conclusion. Ah, it's not that you, yeah, it's the starting backwards kind of idea then. Am I understanding that, writers? Where it's just like, no, this is the conclusion. This is the thing we want to prove exists. And it's not like from a thesis perspective where it's like, we're going to do this experiment to try and prove this. It's, this is the results. Now let's go make sure that we have data to show that result. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what you're saying. So yeah, I don't know about that one, unfortunately. Flossie, actually, to anybody who's read it, like, do you guys think that Jack believed in the Beast? Because I can't quite tell. I almost feel like he did to some extent, but I'm not confident in that particular thought process. Whether it's relevant or not is... Initially, I think so. Fair enough, Flossie. I feel he was delusion. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, Geekbot. I do think that, like I said, I think he did, but I'm not sure. Because, you know, you can do things that are... How to say... You can do things that benefit you without really realizing it, and you can do things that benefit you while also believing in the thing that you're doing. You know what I mean? Last reread the book in high school, but what about the possibility of buying his own hype in a sense? Oh, that's actually a good point, Cobalt. That he's kind of like throwing it out, and because people are believing it, he's kind of starting to believe it. So I was expecting murder and chaos, and there was none, so he created the chaos. Ah, okay, I get you. I get you, writers. Yeah. That's pretty on point. Then he fell. Then I feel he liked the power that came with speaking like an authority on it, and since Simon was dead, he just ran with it, and they followed. True. So I got along like absolutely fine, writers. I understand that Twitch has delays for people. I also know that Delay has a green cat. No one here knows that reference except for me because it's so insanely niche. So niche that literally nobody can know it because it was from a group. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a dumb joke. But yeah, I agree with that, Flossie. Though, again, there's still very much the possibility that he liked the power and kept going with it, but also believed it, right? In the end, I know it doesn't really matter, because when they set the entire frickin' island on fire, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we're on the tail end of the book right now. Like, everything that they have... Everything that they had is about to, you know, is about to fall apart on them. It's fine. Goodbye. It doesn't matter anymore. Authority is here, and now they're gonna have to deal with it. Whatever it may be. And again, I mentioned, already earlier, Flossie, but I think we do, but just to reiterate, we do have to acknowledge the era that the book is written into, right? About 10 years after World War II, probably a lot of people being kind of like, wow, we had two of the Grayscar1, thank you so much for the follow, very much appreciated. You know, we had 2 world wars in a row. You probably didn't look the most positive at the world in that time. You know? There was a lot of crap happening. We were... and even after the war, we had the Iron Curtain. We had, you know, the Russia versus the US butting heads. We had a bunch of different conflicts that basically erupted immediately after World War II. You'd be forgiven to be like, oh yeah, humans? Terrible. We suck. So in that regard, you know, I'll give, dang it, I already forgot his darn name again. Oh, William Golding. There you go. I'll give Golding some credit. You know, he was living in a time era of probably some pretty bad negativity. Doesn't make me like it anymore, though. Oh, that's fair, Flossie. Don't get me wrong. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. Just like how it uses some language that I'm a little bit yikesed about and need to be like, okay, it was written in 1954 or published in 1954. Let's remember the time era for a second. And also, again, no swings at you specifically, Flossie, but let's be real. British people, I mean, kind of even today to some extent, but at least in the past, British people had a holier than thou, or more civilized than thou snootiness to them. I mean, you know, mildly deserved to some degree. You know, the whole, like, at one point owning about 70% of the world. Blue, come on. You can't tell me it's not. I know, like, this is not a stab at the average, like, British citizen whatsoever. This is more towards, like, the aristocracy, the nobility, like, the upper class. But that shit was there. Like, a lot. Like, there is a lot of words in the English language about talking about how somebody is either, you know, like, below you or being uncivil, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it was invented by the British. Oh, pish posh. No, my, I say. He's gone positively batty, he has. Flossie's just like, shut up, your accent is terrible. And I'm like, I know. But yeah, crap. I was gonna go somewhere with this and now I can't remember anymore. Well, not with that specifically. Like, let's be real. Like, most aristocracy and nobility are problematic, to say the least. They've caused more harm than good, I think, is not unreasonable to say. Okay, chat, I still have that ticket from Valentine's Day where I get to pick a sentence to be clipped. I can't think of anything other than another German word, so I'd be grateful for any ideas or inspiration anyone could give me. If anybody could... if anyone could give me, if anybody has any ideas, please tell me. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested. I did find that interesting in the book, though. The whole British superiority complex really came through, even towards the end. Dude, Flossie, at the end, when the naval officer comes by... Blue, you can't. Come on now. That's mean. There's a redeem for that. Yeah, no, hold on. Actually, I need to go grab the book. I need to read that part verbatim, because that's important. 1 second. Where did I put my... There it is. That's right. I don't know if this thing is out of, how to say it, is public domain, but, and also have a good lurk, Blue. Sorry, I didn't see the lurk message. Where is that line? One moment. Oh, here it is. When the officer... what is it? We saw the smoke. And you don't know how many of you there are. No, sir. I should have thought, said the officer, as he visualized the search before him. I should have thought that a pack of British boys, you're all British, aren't you, would have been able to put on a better show than that. I mean... Just so, even adding that little, and thank you for the hydrate, by the way, riders. Like, just so, he even slides in the line of just like, yeah, you're all British. How could this have, wait, you are all British, right? You didn't have a non-Brit among you that might have caused some problems. All right, well, if you're all British, I can't believe this happened to you. You know, there's like literally a subtle little just like, you are all British, right? Say the word. If one of you is French, all blame will be dropped on them. And you're just like, ugh. Ugh. That's not a tasty set of words that I just heard. And yeah, exactly, Geekbot. It's very just like, whoa. And at the start, when the boys come together, we're British is almost the first thing that's said, that they'll be civil because of it. Okay, you got me. I'm gonna quickly go back to the beginning of the book and see if I can find that, Flossie, because that's actually, that has a fascination to it. Will you stop, you silly thing? The headphones. I don't know. Wait, does this have a search function? It does. Unless the book is gonna, or this particular thing is gonna be silly and it's not gonna do what I want it to. I swear they say, I was so sure that you said the same, or about the same thing. Hold on. Can't have it. Oh, this is before they have the meeting. Hold on, let me go find it. You can't swim. Sucks to your auntie. It's gotta be. I'm pretty sure that you're right. Give me a second. I'm just gonna do a quick. Kind of spy, kind of. Yeah, and then they just bring up freaking Johnny for no reason. And it's just like, I don't think Johnny's ever mentioned again whatsoever. Hold on. I'm gonna find it. I am determined by this. Let's vote. Chief again. I cannot find it at the moment, and I feel bad because I feel like I probably just accidentally zoomed past it. Ah, well. Can't find it, unfortunately, but so be it. Is that out of the 1950s thought? I hope not. Or I'd quote it directly. No, you're totally fine, Flossie. I can't find it, unfortunately, and I don't want to spend, because I think I probably accidentally zoomed past it, and say la vie if that's the case. But it is definitely like, yeah, there was a, like I said, it only happens, I think, like twice in the book, but there is, like you said, like a British hoorah kind of feel to it. But that's just like a British pride thing, so, you know. We let that shenanigans slide. Okay, and with that, I think I'm gonna read our review by the lovely Flossie. And then I think we're done for the for the stream. I haven't figured out yet what book, unfortunately, the next one's gonna be. I have an idea, though. I have an idea, but I need to check and see if it's something that I can go down, which route I can go down. So I will announce it. If anybody wants to be part of the book club, you can go here. And in the rules section of the Discord, you will find a book button that you can click as one of the emotes. And if you go there, you will join the book club, where you can join us a hidden part of the Discord where you can discuss books, and I will make announcements specifically to people who are in the book club when it comes to finding out which books we're going to read, etc. I'll just go to TV Church to follow. Yeah, no problem at all, Geekbot. Reading is good, even if you just read the summary. Though I have a friend who always gets very upset with me because I have a bad tendency to not watch movies. I tend to watch movie reviews. And then they're like, how can you have an opinion on this? And no problem at all, Riders. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please have yourself a good rest of your night. All right. Let us read Flossie's review. Already, Flossie liked liked Flowers for Algernon more than the second, which, you know what, I can concur with. But I also have a soft spot for, and hello, Avatar. I have a soft spot for Flowers for Algernon, so that's not entirely fair. But I think I agree with you. I'd probably even be a little bit less charitable and give the thing a 2 out of 5 stars. Because just, I don't know. I had a hard time with that book. And I finished reading it today because I was so just like, all right, you know, gotta keep reading. It had its moments. I agree with that, Geekbot. That's fair. All right, so we have a review from our lovely Flossie the Flower. With a 2.25 out of 5. I presume it's 2.25 out of 5? I couldn't give it a 1, but you pondered it. You pondered it. All right, so this is the review from Flossie. Reading The Lord of the Flies was more interesting than it was enjoyable. I was reminded of why I didn't finish it the first time I picked it up many years ago. However, I was pleased to get the fuller picture and to see who the Lord of the Flies really was. Packed to the brim with symbolism, the author gives the reader an insight into his views on the inherency of evil, the good and bad, the moral and immoral, the ravages of power, and how our greatest fears should be that of ourselves. From the children trying to be tough and making a show without the dulling yet of conscience that comes with the corruption of age, to their fall into, quote, savagery, unquote, and flat-out murder without much hesitation seems to happen at an alarming acceleration. Boys forced into an unknown without experience and guidance to approach it. I found it interesting that only at the end did the boys break down, once faced with an authority. Quote, I know there is no fear either, until we get frightened of people, end quote. The most engrossing factor of the beast, causing a division from the focus of salvation to survival. Although subtle, the real beast quickly rears its ugly head. All that comes to mind is the Lord Acton quote, power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely, end quote. I did not enjoy having to fight with the author's writing style, but it's another one I can cross off the never-ending list. Thank you, Flossie. And actually, yeah, that is a good point. Although, not to counter's not the correct word here, but I guess to build on the thought process for a second of them breaking down at the end. Maybe this is just me, but I'm definitely somebody who buries their emotions when it comes to needing to get things done. And hello, Lord Caven, how are you? So, like, I can understand the idea of, like, everybody's there, everybody's kind of, like, how to say it, there's, at the beginning of the book, there's the new experience, so you can just bury the idea of, like, worry. And, like, also it builds over time, right? At the beginning, they're kind of like, oh, something new and exciting, and we're all alive, and look at all this food, look at this beach, we can have fun and play. And then, you know, like, Ralph instills the idea that they can be rescued by smoke. Oh, look at that, there's hope, blah, 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 blah. And then the fire goes out for the first time, and a ship passes. And the seeds of dread and doubt start to get planted. And then just slowly, you know, like, despair starts to set in, which is the idea of, like, the, quote, savagery coming into play, right? And you can make the argument that the reason that the kids, quote, fall into savagery, end quote, is specifically because they don't know how to deal with the dread that is hitting them right now. That we're never going to get rescued. We're going to die on this island. You know, eventually, you know, like, the unknown horrors of the world are going to come crashing down on us. So instead of facing those emotions and processing them properly, which they basically don't have the mechanisms to do, they instead turn to, like, immediate desires and pleasures, aka food, you know, like, especially, like, the food and the chanting and the like, food, chanting, music, you know, like, dull those thoughts, just dull them up. And, like, you know, like, going into, like, the, well, if we can paint our faces, we can hide ourselves from the world. But by hiding ourselves from the world, we can also hide from ourselves. You know, like, there's that kind of potential attitude there, too, where it's the idea that, like, as soon as, like, the authority figure showed up and they realized that they can pull those masks off, it's like breaking the dam. You know, all of a sudden it's just like, we're rescued. I can start processing now. You know, it's I'm not explaining it very well, unfortunately, but hopefully the general idea comes across. The idea that, you know, it's like, oh my God, it's over. And then you do that exhale and then you cry. Children lost the fire. Sorry, I meant to say children lost the fire, as in, like, the fire died on them. Although, actually, children lost the fire is not a bad way to say it. You know, when the fire went out, so did their hope. You know, the fire or embers of hope, as some ways say it. A child lost the fire. Oh my God, I forgot about the kid. They never spoke of. Yeah, what happened to him? I still don't fully understand. Did a kid actually fall into the fire and die? What happened to him? Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, or did he die in the scar? Like the fire that burned in the scar, like he didn't survive. Ah, okay. Okay, I follow. Yeah, they brought him up a couple times. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from this. Oh, also, what was his name again? Pierce somebody. Or Pierceal? Percial? Who just gets weirdly bullied by the author for no reason? Percy? Was it Percy? Was it Percy that just gets bullied for no reason by the author? Like, just like a face that even a mother couldn't love. And it's just like, what the hell? Like, the book literally is just like, yeah, this is Percy. He's ugly as fuck. That's all you need to know about Percy. And it's just like, what? Oh, sorry. Or should I say, what? Like, they did Percy dirty for just no reason. Kind of gives away. Oh, Geekbot. Oh, I would love that. That he knows a guy named Percy that he really doesn't like. And this is his subtle way of just like, yeah, and Percy, he was so fucking ugly. Oh, I know it's terrible, but I hope that's actually the reason. I hope that that's the reason. I really, really do. And yeah, he did have too many R's. It was Ralph, Roger, Robert, and there was another R. And I can't remember the fourth R. I think that there was a fourth R, but it was just so like... Robert wasn't really a character until like the last quarter of the book. And he was basically shown to be like... Rupert, that's the other one. Yeah, like, Roger was just kind of like, he didn't really mean all that much until the very end where all of a sudden it turns out that he was a bit of a sociopath suddenly, and it was like, wait, what? And then... I don't think Robert really had that much to do in the book at all, from what I remember. And Rupert, I don't think really did anything either. The only reason that Sam and Eric are important is because they're the twins. And he needed them at the end in order to put Ralph in danger to set the forest on fire. Because Ralph told the two where he was gonna hide, and that was actually a really human moment in my opinion, because Ralph at that point was completely and utterly alone, and basically the only people who stuck by him are either dead or have turned sides, and he's talking to them and basically being like, oh, please join me, you know, we have a chance, and also I'm really lonely and I can't tell you that part. You know, in that moment, I totally got it. It reminds me of just, like, any, like, zombie horror situation, you know, when you're by yourself, so you never have a moment to sleep. Because sleeping is danger. And, like, afterwards, when Ralph is by himself for a little while, and he's just like, all right, this is the safest place that I can possibly be in. I just hope that I wake up if I hear something. You know? That's terrifying. That's genuinely a horror moment that I could be like, yeah, this is pretty on point. Now I'm curious why or how his thinking process for when coming up with names. I mean, kind of same, Geekbot, but I don't know if we'll ever find out. I don't know if we'll ever find out, and that's okay. Maybe it's okay. We'll say it's okay. It's not okay. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered another book. I think we did it, boys and girls. We did it. One more book down. Next, Dune. And Flossie's like, Will, please. That thing's like 600 pages. And I'm like, good point. Let's not do Dune yet. Let's do Dune later. Let's do Dune at a time when I'm actually capable of reading more than like 30 pages a day. And no problem at all, Brian. You have yourself a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for being here. Hold on. Actually, let me look. I might as well say it. Where are you? Oh, snap. That's where Cobalt is. Let's go, Cobalt. You're getting near endgame. Brain, please. Yeah. Okay. I think it was... Yeah, there it is. Flossie recommended the Midwich Cuckoos? The Midwich Cuckoos, I think is what it's called. And that one's intriguing to me. From the little that I know about it. So, that one's under consideration. Because I would like something that's a little bit sci-fi-ish. I'm kind of feeling a sci-fi. You know, our first one was, how to say it, like a kind of like a psychological examination sort of story. The second one, I kind of thinking about it to some degree also was. So let's have some sci-fi. I'm looking at a couple different ones. Ooh. Okay, Flossie, well, now you're making it even more difficult for me, because I know you're one of the peeps that reads all the books that we've chosen so far. But you've read it already, so that makes it difficult, and I don't want you to reread something. What was the other one? Okay, I pondered one, and I don't know if it's a good idea to choose, so I'm just going to say it so that it's out there for us to ponder. But I was thinking of maybe Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Because that's something that I'm intrigued by. Because I watched the original Blade Runner, and like, it was fine. I didn't mind it. It's how to say, it's kind of aged. But I'm like, well, what was the source material for this? Poll in Discord? Not a bad idea, Geekbot. I believe I will have to do that. Because there's one other one that I'm thinking of, and I can't remember what it's called anymore. Oh, what is it called again? It's not Technomancer. Oh, what is the name of that book again? Ooh, you might have it correct, Lord Caven. Let me check. Yeah. Neuromancer, because it's like one of the earliest cyberpunk genre books. And if I recall correctly, it was actually quite well received. Yeah, those will probably be our choices for this month. I think all three of them are doable, because I don't think any of them are too early 80s, I think. You are correct, Lord Caven. It is published 1984. So, like, just still in the early 80s. All right, I'll put a poll up then later today. And we will see what peeps have. We'll give it, like, 3 days for people to choose so that you guys have a little bit of time without me having to rush to read books, because I am a slow reader, unfortunately. I have to reread stuff fairly often because I'm just like, wait, what does that say? Wait, I feel like I missed a bunch of stuff. Hold on, let me read that again. Hold on, this is just so I'm clear, we get this one as well. I just want to put them on a page really quick so that I have them already and waiting for when I get that done. But yeah, there we go. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourselves a pat on the back, a clap, an encore. We got through a second book this year. Only 10 more books to go. That's a terrifying thought. My God, that's a terrifying thought. Ugh. All right, and with that, we're going to go and see who we can raid today. 888888888. Yeah, patch, 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 patch. All right, I will let you guys decide where we go. Where go for raid? Art. We'll only make 2 choices because I'm a meanie bobini. All right, poll is up. Oh no, and then the hiccups start coming. And they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. There we go. Ugh. Sorry, just adjusting. It's warm in here. What's your next book? We haven't figured it out yet, Bojaz. We'll figure it out eventually. We gotta figure it out in the next couple days. It's one of 3 choices. It's either the Midwick Cuckoos, the Neuromancer, or do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. Those are going to be our 3 choices for this month. Oh, also, just like really quickly, this is like out of left field, but like I was doing a little bit of math a little bit ago. Art? All right, let me go to art. I was doing a little bit of math a couple days ago, and I realized that, like, as small as this seems, like, the subs that you, like, the subs and tips actually, like, pay for, like, my grocery bills and then some, which is, like, fucking nutty to think about. Like, when I kind of figured that out, it was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, that part of my life is actually just being covered by just the generosity of people. And it's weird. And like, yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know how to process it, but like, Geekbot, why would you do this to me? But thank you, Geekbot. That's very kind of you. I'm just trying to say thank you. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I'm not good at saying thank you. Oh, wait. That freaking audio's not even coming through, is it? It probably isn't. Ah! And Gwen got one, too. And Brick Muppet got one too. Hell yeah, you actually hit like a bunch of like of champions there. Mighty, you came in just as we were ending. I'm sorry. Super appreciate you popping by, though, my dude. Mr. Master of the Dance. Coming in here, just literally being like, check it out. And then he just drops it. Drops it low. In a way that no one's ever seen before. Damn it, not again. I'm sorry. We just finished up. We figured things out. Geekbot's a bum and gave some gift subs, and I super appreciate it. Thank you so much, Geekbot. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I got like weirdly sentimental when I figured it out. I was like, God damn it. Just a bunch of weirdo strangers on the internet think I'm entertaining enough to pay for my groceries. It's weird. I mean, and other things too. Like, the money tries to go primarily to the channel if I can help it. I'm appalled. Well, get appalled it then, nerd. Well, who are we rating? We're rating Kaju. I know that you've seen Kaju Maju before. He's currently working on a commission to do a thingamathing. Oh, also, I guess I should do this too then, right? There's the socials. Twitter, Discord, YouTube, VODs, ASMR, Instagram, Throne. Yes, Throne. That's Throne. I have not said that name in so long. Will I use my money to buy a slice of cake? Dude, bells. There's cake across the street that is more expensive than it's worth. But, like, it is so tempting. I see it all the time. And I'm just like, ah. All right, but we are going to go ahead and raid Kaju Maju. And now I'm actually going to remember this because yesterday I was so insanely tired that I actually forgot to write down or send the raid messages like a fool. 15 people. The book club is a success. Heck, the book club was a success if one person showed up. But now we got 15 times that much, which is nutty. And everybody, obviously, super thank you for talking to me about books and, like, listening to my opinions and just being here. And Geekbot, obviously, for the gift subs. That's super appreciated. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to do our outro, and then I'm going to gorge on pizza because it was half off and it's delicious. And that's what's going to be my dinner. So, quick outro, and then we're going to head on over to Kaju. So, everybody, thank you very much for sticking around. Whether you were chatting, whether you were lurking, whether you just popped in and out for a second, know that you were super appreciated. Dang right, Geekbot, pizza. You've been hiding it from us? No. No, I would never. Hope that you guys are having a great afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time it happen to be for you. Hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves. Hope that you're drinking plenty of water. And when you finally do sleep, whatever time it happen to be for you, hope that you have a very restful sleep. I will see you guys over at Kaju's, and I will see you guys tomorrow for, oh, for art. Ooh, the maid art begins tomorrow. Oh, no. See you guys there. Bye.